All right, guys, happy Friday. You made it to the end of another week, and it is a happy Friday indeed because Christ is King is still trending over on X. I absolutely love it. I'll give you a bit of an update on my thoughts. I truly think that it was another good thing in the end. What else do we have for you guys today? Well, Harvey Weinstein has given me a major public shout out in the Daily Mail and the New York Post for looking at his case objectively, and I appreciate that. Also, I, of course, have an update for you all on the Blake Lively case because we are learning that Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, will be deposed. And I suspect that that might be making Ryan Reynolds extremely nervous, and I'll tell you why. On that note, Judge Lehman has come back with a firm answer on the attorney's eyes only designation that we discussed. So are we getting these Taylor Swift text messages? Yes or no? Let's find out. Welcome back to Candace. Okay, I want to say this right at the top. For some reason, every time that I try to say Hugh Jackman, I keep saying Hugh Hefner. So if I do that throughout this episode, please excuse me. I don't know why. I just can't get Hugh Jackman out, and I've said it like 22 times and been corrected by my team. But anyways, we actually haven't discussed him much at all throughout this case, which is kind of strange. I don't really know why we didn't kind of do a deeper dive onto Hugh Jackman and the role that he played in all of this when we've looked at everybody else. Maybe secretly because I was an X-Men stan. I absolutely loved the X-Men movies. And maybe there was a piece of me that just didn't want him to be a part of the bullying squad against Justin Baldoni. Alas, we have to look at this case objectively, and he was, in fact, a part of the bullying that happened to Justin Baldoni, whether or not he wants to admit that or sees that. Here are the facts. Ready? We know that he was standing alongside Ryan Reynolds in every single one of these scenes on Deadpool and Wolverine, where Nice Pool was introduced and then abused and then assassinated in a very graphic, overdone manner because that's really funny to kill people that you have an issue with in real life by turning them into characters. It is highly unlikely, therefore, that Hugh Jackman was not therefore at least aware of why his quote unquote best friend, Ryan Reynolds, was writing in all of these lines, especially because we did the timeline and we showed you that this was not initially supposed to be a part of their principal filming. And then they went back and they did some filming after the SAG-AFTRA strike, and somebody had admitted that they had done all of that dog pool filming. I said dog poo. That too, dog pool filming at the very end of the movie. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. Hugh would have known exactly what his best friend was thinking, especially because it wasn't a part of the larger plot of the movie. Hugh Jackman was also in the now infamously cringe It Ends With Us promotional skit that had nothing to do with promoting the movie, which was about domestic violence, where Ryan directed it and he brought in his mom and Blake was in the background. We learned that, but he also brought in his best friend because he just wanted a little bit of A-list power there. And when you're really obviously trying to be a high school bully, you want to be like, we're the cool kids and you're nothing. And what better way to make him uncomfortable than to promote his movie, him being Justin Baldoni's movie, and bring in an A-lister to mock him. And so Hugh Hefner played himself, Ryan's quote unquote best friend, as he was speaking to Brandon Sklenar. And Brandon Sklenar is, of course, supposed to be Justin Baldoni. Let's take a listen to 20 seconds of that clip just to jog your memory rather, on what exactly Hugh Hefner said.
No. It's not every day a guy gets to interview the love interest of his best friend's wife and the guy trying to replace Ryan as a husband and me as his best mate.
Holy
What the hell are you doing messing with my best buddy's wife?
Sir, I have no idea what's happening at all today.
And so I also want to remind you that Hugh Hefner then appeared at the It Ends With Us premiere. Again, not his movie. Kind of weird that he's hitting the red carpet with them. He obviously knows what is going on. What would that conversation have been on the way to the premiere as they made Justin Baldoni go really, really early and then stuffed him in the basement? Again, this was all just meant to be a power display, and Hugh Jackman played a role in it. He did. So he was one of the unnamed dragons, if you will, in all of this. And it looks like for that, he is being awarded for his contributions with a deposition. All right, so check out this headline. You can see the Daily Mail. It says, surprising new twist in Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni legal battle as Hugh Jackman is pulled into the saga. And then it tells us that according to a source, Hugh Jackman is going to be deposed before the trial because Baldoni's legal team wants to get the full scope of Reynolds' conduct during the time that It Ends With Us was being filmed. An insider also told the Mail that, quote, Hugh will be deposed if this goes to trial. There is no way that he cannot. Baldoni's legal team is doing everything they need to get a full scope of Ryan's conduct during the time that It Ends With Us was filmed. As Ryan's good friend who starred in the film and was with Blake and Ryan many times in private during that time, his deposition will likely be crucial. They are not leaving any stone unturned. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is interesting to me, because I have a lot of questions about Ryan Reynolds' bromances, his various bromances over the years. We've talked about him and Jake Gyllenhaal, and obviously this has been a bromance that has been very much thrown in the public's face. Ryan's kind of perpetually highly publicizing his bromances is something that I find to be quite strange, right? Mostly because he's a 48-year-old man, Ryan Reynolds. He has 4 kids. And he seems to dedicate a lot of time and resources, like financial resources, to trying to convince the public that these bromances are perfectly normal. And we're not really asking for that convincing. Like, I don't need people to convince me that guys can hang out with one another, but he feels like he has to make that effort. So he's like, nothing's weird here. Nothing's weird. Bromances are so normal. I mean, notoriously, that's the reason why he flew out Liz Plank, Justin Baldoni's podcast partner, flew her all the way over, presumably to the UK, to provide her expert testimony as to why bromances are like totally chill, right? They're totally okay. Remember, here's what she had to say in his Wrexham documentary about that.
The definition of the word bromance is just, it's a platonic relationship between 2 men. There's no female equivalent to the term bromance. The female equivalent is friends. And so the fact that we need a term to describe 2 men going out to dinner, I think, is very revealing about what men are allowed or are not allowed to do, and how much self-policing there is when it comes to their relationships with other men. So bromance is almost this permission for men to connect and to show love to each other, because it's like a joke.
So I'll ask the question, who out there needed that to be explained to them? Like, who needed this justification paid for to bring in an expert to tell you that guys can go out to dinner and it's totally chill? It's a weird thing for them to be trying to constantly tell us. And he's always playing this role of kind of making a lot of gay jokes and like trying to normalize all of these gay jokes. But nobody's actually asking him to do that. Not the gay community or the heterosexual community. And this is why this is interesting, because regarding Hugh Jackman, in case you were unaware, he recently divorced his wife of 27 years. Her name is Deborah Lee Furness. 27 years is a very long time to be married. They announced their separation to the public in September of 2023. Now, just to plot that on a timeline for you, that was in the midst of the principal filming for Deadpool and Wolverine, which got abruptly paused in that September due to the SAG-AFTRA strike. The strike began in June, I believe, and in September, Hugh Jackman announces that he and his wife are separating. Now, factually speaking, no judgment from me, but Hugh Jackman has been plagued with rumors of homosexuality throughout his entire career. It has been speculated for a host of reasons, some fair, some not. Some people just never really bought into him at the peak of his career, having married a woman that was 13 years his senior. Some might say, oh, that's ageist. People thought this is quite strange. He was 28 years old when they got married. She was 41 years old. So many people were saying right off the bat, no. This guy is using her as a beard, which is the term that people use when you're in like one of these cover marriages. And like I told you, that accusation, it can be real in a lot of circumstances. It goes on a lot in Hollywood, and we'll get into that in my book club when we read Hollywood Babylon. Anyways, people really began upping the questioning of his sexuality after he played this really flamboyant character in the Broadway play, The Boy from Oz. That was back in 2003. The story is about an openly gay singer-songwriter named Peter Allen. And what stood out to them in that production was the fact that Hugh Jackman opted instructed to kiss his male co-star throughout this production, even though in the original screenplay, there was no kiss between the male stars. So it was just sort of gratuitously added, which I hope there was an intimacy coordinator. That's all I can say, right? Anyways, here's a little snippet of that play. And the rumors just kept happening throughout his career. They became so persistent and consistent that it culminated in an interview on 60 Minutes Australia, where he and his wife at the time, Deborah Furness, responded. And she was quite frustrated about people always asking whether or not her husband was in fact gay. Take a listen.
Appearing on stage as Peter Allen a decade ago was pivotal in Hugh's professional career. But ever since, it's raised speculation that Jackman is gay and his marriage to Deb a sham.
Now, I read that it's only recently that you've said that these rumours about your sexuality are starting to get to you.
Oh, please.
If I was, I would be. I don't think it's, to me, not the most interesting thing about a person anyway, but I do get frustrated for Deb because I see Deb go, well, this is just crazy.
But it's just wrong. It's like, it's a lie. It's just the bottom line, so it's just offensive. If he was gay, fine, he would say he's gay. It has gotten so out of whack that they say it's stupid, and it's annoying because it's not true.
That's right. So you as an actor, you can't be able to sing, dance,
Yeah.
and be straight.
Right. Well, you know, it's just ridiculous.
Okay, so despite them protesting that, the rumors didn't really cease, and it wasn't helped recently when there was some very obvious PR planting regarding his new, quote unquote, new relationship, okay? Immediately following his divorce, rumors were seeded in the press. I am telling you, this is a PR team doing this, that he was dating his co-star, Sutton Foster. She's the co-star in another Broadway musical that he is participating in. This is called The Music Man. And I'll tell you where it gets weird. So they instantly started seeding this rumor like, yo, well, maybe he got divorced because he's in this relationship with Sutton Foster. But then he moved to set up a paparazzi shot with People Magazine, like an exclusive paparazzi shot in People Magazine of him and Sutton Foster walking hand in hand down the street so that they could confirm the rumors of them dating publicly. I'm not kidding. So this is where it says exclusive, Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster step out hand in hand for dinner date. And then you can see People's photos, exclusive People photos. Here they are. Just like kind of the perfect, I don't know, like I hold my husband's hand and we're like looking at it. That one really kills me, this photo right here, where they're just kind of like staring into each other's eyes and smiling, and they both are dressed kind of perfectly and walking down the street. I think in most circumstances, when you're dating someone and holding hands or married to someone holding hands, you're just gonna have like a weird face, right? You know what I mean? You're like, like getting out of the car, probably like you're arguing. You really have something like in your eye and people are like, what's going on? But they're like perfectly glamorous coming out of this restaurant. And so other publications even pointed out that this was clearly a staged photo op that was done in this effort to hard launch their relationship to the public. And then 36 hours later, they were photographed again, laughing and smiling on a morning walk in Los Angeles, which is like one of the favorite fake pap shots. Like we caught them on a walk. Once again, captured and distributed by the same magazine. People Magazine seems to be always there for them. That's likely the connection for whoever the PR agents are for the both of them. And they are smiling and looking right at the camera on this totally natural walk. Okay, so my question would just be, if you are in a real relationship, why would you have to do this? Why would you have to have your PR agents elect to catch you holding someone's hand and smiling perfectly? I think it's a bit strange. Anyway, so back to Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. They're in this bromance at the time that he separates from his wife, and you just wonder if that's also partially the reason why Blake's team is adamant that they need this AEO determination, right? They want the judge to agree to an attorney's eyes only designation to protect, as they term it, highly confidential information that could destroy the careers of the third party people that are involved. Okay, so third party, meaning they're not listed in this lawsuit as plaintiffs or defendants, but they're third parties and they're going to get deposed and we're going to get to subpoena some information. And they're going like, we need this AEO designation because their careers would be ruined if the public found something out about them. It just makes you ask what truth could be so poisonous to someone's career that if revealed, it would be over. It would have to be that in some manner or another, that person is a fraud. Right? In some manner or another, that person is a fraud. So whether it's how they're publicly presenting their sexuality, whether it's how they're publicly presenting their brand, a la Taylor Swift, I'm a nice girl, and then you find out she's actually a really mean girl, that would be ruinous to her career, right? Because you'd go, who are you? You invest in these people because you think they're telling you the truth, and you would just be shocked by that. So I'll tell you, Judge Lehman has reached a decision about that designation. Now, just to briefly remind you, what they wanted that for was essentially to remove the judge from the process of declaring documents AEO, attorney's eyes only. So Blake Lively's team was like, we want to be able to decide by ourselves as attorneys that this text message between Taylor and Blake Lively is AEO, which means no one else can see it but the attorneys. And we don't need to go to the judges' chambers to duke that out with it's like if we say it is, you just got to go with us. Essentially, they become their own judges. And obviously, Justin Baldoni's team said, no, we don't want that. We just want this to be like a limited scope confidentiality agreement, and the court protective order, the standard court protective order, should suffice. Well, Judge Lehman came back with a decision to allow a limited AEO, which I think is exactly what Justin Baldoni's team was asking for. Certainly not what Blake's team wanted, because the judge will still be involved. If the attorneys disagree on that designation, then they're going to have to go to the judge and they're going to have to duke it out and argue that this does not deserve to be attorney's eyes only and it's relevant to my case. So we're going to take a look at that order. Here are the 4 points in which the judge is saying under a limited scope, they will be allowed to mark attorney's eyes only, assuming the two attorneys agree. A, they have trade secrets, confidential business plans, marketing plans, and strategies for clients other than the parties in this litigation, confidential business projects or leads on projects for clients other than the parties in this litigation, confidential creative projects or ideas other than those involved in this litigation. Of course, nobody wants that. Nobody cares if, Hugh Jackman, we find out in a text, is working on a project with Lady Gaga. I don't know. That's not exactly relevant. And of course, he should be able to keep that as proprietary to his business plans. B, you have security measures taken by parties or third parties. Of course, we don't really need to know who they're using for security, how they're getting it in and out of places, that we just don't need it. C, medical information of parties or third parties. Again, that is an obvious designation, and it wouldn't be ruinous to their career, by the way, necessarily, but it's just not our business to know what ailments they're facing, what drugs they're taking. I get that. That's totally fine. And D, highly personal and intimate information about third parties and highly personal and intimate information, that's very interesting, about parties other than information that is directly relevant to the truth or falsity of any allegation in the complaints in this case. And I think D is where it's going to get choppy in the judges' chambers. I think that they're not going to agree on this, right? Because what happens if a text message, as we said, intimate relationships? What happens if there's a text message, like I said, Taylor Swift, which is coming out of a relationship with Joe Alwyn, Hugh Jackman, which is coming out of this relationship with Deborah Furness. They're talking to their quote unquote best friends. What if it comes out that, I don't know, I'm making this text up completely, but Taylor Swift texts Blake Lively and says, I'll give you a connection. You can burn Justin Baldoni with my dragon fire like I did to Joe Alwyn. Ooh, spicy. What's the judge? And then probably what's going to happen is Blake's team is going to argue that's ruinous to Taylor Swift's career. And then you're going to have Brian Friedman in the chambers excuse me, this is unbelievably relevant because it's showing that this was a part of a larger plan to harm him. And they were using this example of what she did to Joe Alwyn. That's the kind of stuff where it's going to get very dicey. These attorneys are not going to agree on what's relevant to the case, because I tend to agree with Brian Friedman. It's all relevant. if you find out that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Hefner have a relationship or something, it does change significantly. It tells you about the mindset. I mean, there's so many things that are relevant for the jury to understand about what was going on in these people's lives. That's why even I said, I was like, what was her mentality coming out of a 5-year relationship with Joe Alwyn? Did she just want to blow some fire and just kind of, do some things, do some hood rat stuff with her friends, like I want to do all the time, every day on this podcast? Just want to do hood rat stuff with my friends. Maybe that's how Taylor Swift felt. So I think it's going to get dicey there. We're going to see what exactly they decide, what exactly the judge agrees to. I think it will piece by piece. The trial is not supposed to be until 2026 March. So they certainly have time. And I think right now, if I'm Blake's team, I'm thinking about folding. I'm like, I'm not really comfortable with this, and I don't feel confident about this. And maybe it's time to fold and talk about settlement. I'll also show you this really quickly on page 9 of the judge's decision. He writes, before the parties make an AEO designation, the protective order places on them the burden of determining that the information is not directly relevant to an allegation in the pleadings, which is essentially him saying, like, you are going to have to explain to us why you don't think it's relevant to the pleadings for us to know this. And I think it's all relevant. I think it's all obviously not health information, but you can't really get into somebody's mindset. And if you don't understand the communications that they were having with their friends while they were doing these promo skits, while he was talking to his mom about reading those lines, like, we need to see all of that. So what does this mean? Yeah, well, it's going to get interesting. It's already interesting. We are obviously learning that he's getting deposed. And like I said, I think Friedman's team is probably feeling really good right about now. That's what I would say, because it's all relevant and it's all going to come out. All right, guys, just want to remind you about PreBorn. Oh, wait, one more thing I have to add here. Taylor Swift is allegedly in hiding, and this actually premiered in the Daily Mail, that she's allegedly in hiding, that she's very concerned about being pulled into this case. Again, I will ask the question, what is it that she is so fearful of? Because I would not be fearful to be pulled into a case. I feel like I conduct myself in private as I conduct myself in public. And so they're basically saying she's aware of all the speculation of what's happening. She doesn't want to get dragged into this case. She doesn't want to be deposed. She doesn't want to be subpoenaed in this case. And she just wants to go be happy with Travis Kelce. And they keep trying to blur this message out. And that, it just makes me think that she did something, that there's a major uh-oh here for her, and that's why I think they're going to fold. Anyways, on to PreBorn. What do Andrea Bocelli, Steph Curry, Justin Bieber, and Tim Tebow all have in common? Well, all of their mothers were encouraged to end their pregnancies, because when a woman is facing an unplanned pregnancy, she's often pressured into ending her child's life. She wants to make the right choice, but society and those around her are telling her that the baby is not the right choice. The baby is not even a life yet. That's where the Ministry of PreBorn steps in. PreBorn and a network of clinics offer compassionate, loving care to mothers and the support they need to help them choose life, including a free ultrasound. Once a mother hears her child's heartbeat, she is twice as likely to choose life. So if you consider yourself pro-life, it's time to join forces with PreBorn. Together, we can empower women to choose life, empowering the truth of motherhood, which transforms families and futures. One ultrasound is just $28, and $140 will help to rescue 5 babies. When you donate monthly, you will receive stories and pictures of the lives that you help to save. So donate by dialing pound 250 and saying the keyword baby. Again, that's pound 250 baby, or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. Also, Puretalk. If there are 2 things in life that are certain, it will be death and taxes. Now, we know there's a third as well. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you could be saving a fortune every month by switching to Puretalk. Puretalk, my cell phone company, is cutting the fat from the wireless industry. For just $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data on America's most dependable 5G network. The average family of 4 saves over $1,000 a year when they switch to Puretalk. That's real money back in your pocket. And with Puretalk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch hassle-free in as little as 10 minutes. You can even keep your phone and your phone number. Right now, if you go to puretalk.com/Owens to make the switch, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Owens to start saving today. Puretalk, wireless by Americans for Americans. Okay, so this is really, really funny. Here's the thing. If you don't lie, you don't have to look like a fool when one of your lies gets debunked. I know that sounds like obvious advice. Just tell the truth. It's like the Judge Judy advice. Just tell the truth. You don't have to have a good memory. You don't have to worry about things coming back to haunt you. And so I genuinely got such a chuckle that in the midst of this Christ is King non-debate, I should just call it this Christ is King random Lent hit, where people are trying to pretend this phrase is anti-Semitic. And by people, I mean this very small group of ADL-sponsored analysts that work for the Network Contagion Research Institute, whatever the deal is. In the midst of them doing that, at the same time, Harvey Weinstein, who is Jewish and who gave so much money to the ADL, has spoken out to Page Six about me. And the actual title here is hilarious. I know how much this writer struggled to write this because Page Six was they were the group that pushed Stop Anti-Semitism's labeling of me as Anti-Semite of the Year. So this headline reads, "Why Harvey Weinstein showed off a toothless grin in court and is raving about Anti-Semite of the Year, Candace Owens from behind bars." So this is just funny because the amount of effort it takes, they were a part of this smear of me as an anti-Semite, and now they have to play this game of like journalist twister and completely twist and contort themselves to explain like, no, like she is Adolf Hitler. She just also is trying to get this Jewish man freed from prison because I believe he was wrongfully convicted, and I'm showing people all the facts here. And yeah, they just look foolish. You look foolish. And if you had told the truth in the first place, if you had told the truth last year, if you didn't pretend that I said all of those awful things, that I harbored hatred in my heart for Jews because I don't support Bibi Netanyahu, you wouldn't have to look this foolish. Anyways, Harvey Weinstein called Page Six. Apparently, that's what they said. They said he was in a good mood over his, quote, highly unlikely relationship with a controversial right-wing pundit, Candace Owens, who was named Anti-Semite of the Year by the watchdog group Stop Anti-Semitism. He said, quote, "My views are completely different from hers, but she's tough and tenacious," he said, calling her a superstar after Owens has been arguing Weinstein's innocence on her podcast. He said, quote, "She approached a friend of mine and then she approached me and I said, Candace, I'm a huge supporter of the Anti-Defamation League. You're not the most popular person on my list." That is true. He did say I was not the most popular person, and it was fine because I told him he was not the most popular person on my list either. And then he goes on to say, "But I've never seen anything like it. The woman is going to be a superstar, and I have been around stars." She's doing investigative reporting on her podcast. And I love this. I actually love the timing of this too, because I just think it really shows that at the end of the day, the truth is going to float to the top, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, we allow ourselves to get so boggled down in these smears, these libels, this name calling. Are you Republican? Are you a Democrat? The branding people, far right, far left. And what we are seeing, and what I have been kind of saying a lot on this podcast, is now it's kind of about people who are just craving truth. Doesn't matter if you're left or right. Doesn't matter particularly how you feel about Harvey Weinstein. And he even says that. He said this also to the Daily Mail. They published this as an exclusive today. He said, "My lawyers are talking about me testifying, and it's certainly not out of my purview to take that serious because I'm innocent and every act with these women was consensual." On that front, he lavishly heaped praise on an unlikely ally, far-right provocateur Candace Owens. Okay, was I a far-right provocateur when I was writing for you, Daily Mail? When you guys paid me to write for you? Okay, or no, just when I became like anti-Israel? Okay, cool, just checking. Who has recently been defending him on YouTube. She argues that he got railroaded by the Me Too movement, which erupted in 2017 when women began going public with accounts of his behavior. Owens' reporting has helped to shift the public opinion in the lead up to his retrial. He said, quote, "We disagree on almost everything, but her level of reporting is unbelievable," he declared. "She is not treating me like a hero. She is treating me like a guy who cheated on his wife and was amoral but didn't sexually assault anybody. I believe she's convinced I'm innocent, and I am innocent," he argued, "and I got caught up in the turmoil of a movement." That is exactly my take. He's not a moral man. He is not a person that I would align myself with. I think I literally said to him once on the phone, if I was your wife, I'm grateful that you were not my husband, and I disagree with the things that you did. But I also took a look at this case objectively, and I think what happened to you in the courtroom was an absolute disaster, and it was wrong, a wrongful conviction. And I said that to him before the conviction was overturned. And so I'm glad to see this picking up. If you guys have not jumped into that series, you really should. It's very scary, especially if you're a woman who has a son, to recognize that this could happen, because I believed in corruption in the media. I never in a million years before, I would say the last couple of years, believed that the corruption could take place in the courtroom at this time, like in 2020 and 2021. I think it was 2020 when he had his initial case, that this level of corruption could take place and it would just be about social justice. And so it's almost a more important case because it requires you to be nuanced. It requires you to say, I don't have to like this person in order to want to see justice, actual justice delivered, and not social justice. It's a good exercise for all of us. And so you can see that obviously pinned on our YouTube page. And next week we will be returning as we keep looking into Jessica Mann, the young woman who alleges that she had a 5-year consensual affair, except for one time when it wasn't consensual, but then they continued to have years of an affair, and that was not problematic for the jury, despite the hundreds and hundreds of emails, which we're going to go through because they are quite egregious. So we will be returning to our Harvey series next week, leading up to his retrial, which I will be watching diligently, because I just am passionate about making sure that people who are put away for what they actually did and not what people say that they felt. All right, guys, want to remind you that it is never too late to continue embracing positive change in your life. If you are ready to maintain the new year, new me momentum, look no further than NIMI Skincare. From gentle formulas to luxurious treatments, NIMI offers everything you need to keep your skin glowing. Right now, if you use code Candace10 at checkout, you'll enjoy 10% off your order. Whether you're pampering yourself or surprising a loved one, now is the perfect opportunity to try NIMI's transformative skincare at a great price. NIMI Skincare isn't just another beauty brand, it's a celebration of faith, family, and freedom, proudly made in the USA. So if you're looking for something extra gentle, NIMI's clean, fragrance-free formulas are ideal for sensitive skin and those seeking a pure approach to self-care. So use code Candace10 today at NIMIskincare.com. That's NIMI Skincare.com, promo code Candace10, and you'll save 10% on your purchase. Give yourself or someone special the gift of glowing, refreshed skin and keep that fresh start feeling going strong well into 2025. That is NIMIskincare.com, promo code Candace10. Okay, on the Crisis King matter, I have a different take on the Justin Bieber situation. It's all kind of happening right now. I really think that, I don't know, I think people feel Christ more at this time. I do think that evil is getting caught out faster than it normally does. As proven yesterday, I didn't even reply really to Jordan Peterson outside of looking through the replies when he just launched this hideous attack on me. I have not done anything to Jordan Peterson that I feel was worthy of him saying that. And I think most people saw it for what it was, an ADL sponsored attack on my character a year on from the initial unnecessary Crisis King attack. And there is something that people are feeling, which is just like, okay, we're battling demons, but these demons are really starting to come out into the light. And I have felt that way. I have done multiple episodes regarding Justin Bieber, and people, I see it so obviously, and I don't think others do, but the insistence that when Justin Bieber cashes out of Hollywood, which he did, he sold his entire back catalog. I think it was for $200 million. And as you can see, he's trying to pull back from Hollywood. Hollywood is getting closer to him and trying to convince people that he's crazy, that he's got no money, that his wife is spending all of his money, that he's on drugs. And I think it's a demonic attack. I do. I think actually it's the opposite. I think when you start a family, it draws you closer to the Lord, because you just think about, how do I want my children to come up in this life? And then he thinks about what he lived through. He thinks about the Diddy parties. He thinks about how he was so young and he can't believe that Hollywood allowed that to happen to him. I think he's actually getting clarity. So yesterday everyone was freaking out about this post that he put on Instagram and pretending that it meant that he was having some sort of a breakdown. And I'm going, what about this reads to anybody as a breakdown? I'll read it to you guys. He wrote, "People told me my whole life, quote, 'Wow, Justin, you deserve that.' And I personally have always felt unworthy, like I was a fraud. Like when people told me I deserved something, it made me feel sneaky. Like, damn, if they only knew my thoughts, how judgmental I am, how selfish I really am, they wouldn't be saying this. I say all this to say, if you feel sneaky, welcome to the club. I definitely feel unequipped and unqualified most days. And much ado about nothing. They are, oh, he's having some break. I'm like, no, actually, what you tend to see is when people get over their various addictions, and Justin Bieber has spoken about his, when people tend to come to Christ, they go through this phase, I would almost say, of feeling not worthy of it. I also said this to Russell Brand, notoriously, and Russell Brand was like a lefty, and I went on his show and had a really fun time. At the time, the show was called, I think, Beneath the Skin or Under the Skin, and we had this back forth as a conservative and him as a lefty. And I said to him, I think you're only holding on to all of these perspectives because you feel unworthy. Like you don't think that you deserve to have all the success when you spend so much time dedicated to your addictions. And yet Hollywood loved you and glorified you through these addictions. And that's the same with Justin Bieber. Like he went through this partying, he was doing drugs, all of this stuff, sleeping with women, and people were coming to him and being like, you're amazing. And he was rewarded with gifts and money. And so you have to go through this period of guilt. Like I was so unworthy of that. And that's what he's sharing. And that's relatable. This is not a sign that there's anything wrong with Justin Bieber. Actually, quite the opposite, that he knows that despite everything that he's done wrong, there was still this sort of hand, like he was still kind of walking. Jesus Christ was still walking next to him. Like, whenever you're ready to put that weight down, Justin, I'm here. And I think he feels that. And that's great. And so now they're reporting that Justin and Hailey Bieber are ready to buy a European mansion because they want to flee all of this madness, all of this people that are alleging that they're, getting divorced, that he's on drugs. And I think that's a good idea. I think it is good to get out of Hollywood. You don't even have to go all the way to Europe, by the way. You can totally come here to Tennessee. We'll welcome you in Tennessee. We'll keep you safe. People have good values outside of LA. You've just been in that bubble for so long that you probably wouldn't know it. But we don't have, paparazzi running around here trying to snap a picture and saying awful things about people all the time. That's what we have, Barry Weiss for, for me. That's what the ADL is for. And guess where the ADL is based? They're based in Los Angeles. New York and LA, the vibes are just not vibing there, is what I would say. And by the way, guys, I do want to say thank you so much yesterday for all of you rushing to my defense in that comment section with Jordan Peterson. I was obviously reading everything, but I am very happy that it happened again. I think last year when it happened, there was just so much noise. I was exiting the company that I was working for. There was this narrative being drummed up that the reason for that was because of a rampant anti-Semitism. There was obviously just a few months before that, the October 7th thing. And so I think the public was more receptive to believing that, obviously this attack on Christ is King is about just kind of the radicalization that's happening in the Christian movement or something. And now, because this was kind of an attack that was executed out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, nobody said a thing, everyone's clear on what's going on here. Everyone is clear that, no, this is actually an attack on the faith. This is not anything that's being done sincerely. No one was attacking anyone or screaming the term Christ is King. And so I just wanted to thank you guys because it's been just amazing to see the reaction and to have this trending. And once again, this has nothing to do with me. I am the conduit for people who dislike me, but it's clearly not me that is offending. It's just Christ's kingship that is offending and always has offended certain people. And they are making that more clear because they are just like demons. They just can't stop. They can't just let it go. They can't just move on. I have moved on. I have let it go. I have allowed the smears and the libels. I have rebuilt my life. I had, started this channel in June. We had no idea where it was going to go last year. And now we're at over 4 million subs. And that is because I think when you tether yourself to truth and you don't have evil in your heart, the attacks can't land. I really believe that. I say that to people all the time, no matter what you're going through, people are lying about you. In the end, the truth will be revealed. And that is just what is done in the darkness eventually comes to light. And I think so much more this year is going to come to light. And I don't fear that. I love the light. I love it. I think it's the best disinfectant. I really await that day for people to really see what is happening behind the scenes. And it is something of note to me that the ADL was behind this study, this report done during Lent, and they were, again, last year, the people that were orchestrating the Lenten attack on me. All that I thought was very interesting. So the timing is suspicious, and I think people are definitely starting to notice. Anyways, let's take a look at some of your comments. get into this. Rose writes, Candace, never give up giving truth. Christ is King. Here's a donation for your series on Weinstein instead of your debate with the Daily Wire. Yes, thank you. I'd like to get back to the stuff that I'm interested in, which is looking into all of these stories and investigating them. Gabrielle Ortiz writes, I was shocked to learn about the attack on Christ is King. I travel a lot, and when I fly, I always wear my Christ is King shirt. I've had several people at the airport read it out loud and tell me how they love it. Yeah, it is shocking. It was shocking, but it's ultimately a good thing. I think it's going to bring more people in. I think Christians have been asleep at the wheel in America in particular, just not realizing that we're the ones under attack, and they're constantly buying into this idea that we have to be the defenders of somebody else's faith. And while your faith is routinely being offended, our faith is routinely being offended. Spend that energy here. It is definitely needed. And also, by the way, shout out to Tim Pool and Mary yesterday on the show. They were up against somebody who was trying to allege, no, Candace has done this. And they were like, nope, she has not been trolling anybody with Christ is King. So what's up with this, really? Thank you guys for doing that. I did see that clip. Jana writes, Candace, stay strong in faith. You inspire me to have a stronger faith, and I am getting baptized during this Lent season. Christ is King, glory to God. Yes, that is so exciting. That is such a blessing. Congratulations. And you feel it, like, because I obviously got baptized last year, and it was just the most special, like one of the most special days of my life, truly. I did feel renewed. I did feel committed, and I had the comfort of knowing that things would be okay. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but bless you on that. MIL writes, Candace, thank you for the laugh every time you said Hefner. And did I say it again? I swear. Did I say it, guys? I really thought about saying Jackman almost 6 times. No, I can't tell if they're being Hefman as half. Oh my gosh. I said Hefman. I don't know why. Guys, I practiced so much before we went live today. I just was like Jackman. But I guess Hugh Hefner, for some reason, it just like rolls off the tongue rather than saying Hugh Jackman, which is weird because I was a fan of Hugh Jackman, not Hugh Hefner. Anyways, Thor's Bride writes, that poor guy, Justin Bieber, I feel so bad for him. I pray he finds comfort in Christ. Yeah, I pray that as well, and we should actively pray for him, truly, like think about him and realize that I don't know. I just feel like they want him back in a way. And if he has to go to Europe to get that sense of peace, then I hope he does. And I hope that more people do defend him and recognize it as what the media has always been. They just demonically attack people that they feel is the people that are proprietary to them, that left them. Like, they're like deranged ex-boyfriends. It's like, no, you were ours when you were on drugs. We loved you so much. And now you're trying to clean up your life. And we don't do that because we're the media. And we celebrate you not when you're sober, but we celebrate you when you have, confirmed yourself to serve the devil. And that's what it feels like for all these people. Russell Brand, they loved him when he was an addict. They loved all these people when they were addicts. And now they hate them when they get sober and they come to Christ. Irma writes, thank you. I credit your husband for my return to Catholicism. He is an awesome apologist for the church. He has helped me rethink what forgiveness is and what I love and miss about my church. Love your show. Well, I got to tell you, I credit him as well with me being baptized to the Catholic faith. And I am so behind on him when it comes to everything, just his wisdom, his theology. He's so deep on it. I know so many people say he should have a Catholic podcast. It's just not in his nature to be front facing, which I love, by the way. I adore that about him. I adore that he's English and much more reserved than I am, but he's such a spiritual steward. And it is because of how firm he is in the faith that I can be so firm in my faith, even as someone who very much considers myself to be a beginner and likely to make so many mistakes here. And I feel like, I have a platform and I don't want to make those mistakes because people will go, see, she doesn't do this right or doesn't know what's right. So I always just ask people to just, give me time and know that I'm doing the work as best as I can, but I will always defend us when the fight is brought to me, as I did yesterday. So with all that said, you guys, on Monday, we jump back into our Harvey Speaks series. So be sure, if you have time over this weekend, to get to the beginning of this. It is so great to see people saying in the comments that I've completely changed their mind on it. As I told you I would, because I don't look at cases unless I really feel that there is something there. If you want to support our show and support our independence, you can head to CandaceOwens.com. You can join the book club if you'd like to. You can also become a member so that you have access to the Shot in the Dark series, which is on vaccines if you are a parent, or you can just give you can just donate to us because you think we are awesome and we are fighting for the right things at CandaceOwens.com. Either way, we will see you guys back here on Monday.